to Coffee and Praise. I hope that you're having a great day. This is if you notice, if you watched my last video, I'm wearing the same earrings, same t-shirt, same day. I'm just trying to do a few videos today because I don't have a lot going on. I just have some laundry going, and tomorrow I have an appointment out of town, and I don't know what the rest of the week after that will look like. So I figured get a few done today, and my husband's out doing some of his own videos today. What I was saying here is that I would link my husband's channel in the description below. I had a malfunction with my phone. Alright, I'm back. I had to adjust my my lighting, and I had to charge my phone, so I had to adjust everything and make sure that the cord was long enough. So I'm not sure what I said in the last one, but it's okay. We'll just start from where I'm at right now, and we will work on splicing this together. If I can adjust this. Okay. Alright. Well, today I wanted to share some more from Growing Slow. I've been trying to catch up in the reading, and this has been like such a good book that I don't want to go through too fast. So I wanted to share a few things, and I tried filming this video 4 times, deleted it 4 times, left the 5th one on my phone, and then deleted that one because I got way off track, or at least I don't remember exactly where I was going with it when I went back to it to try to finish it up. So I'm just going to start all over again and share from a few chapters, just a few little things that I think are great insights. I've read a few books recently, over the last year or so, about boundaries in our Proverbs 31 minute. There's another blooper for you. Okay. In our Proverbs 31 Ministries online Bible studies, that's one thing I struggle with is boundaries. And in this chapter, which is chapter 10, it's titled Good Fences. And she's talking about, boundaries, and I always looked at boundaries as walls. And because of how I did things, I built walls growing up. And I've said this before, I'm sure, in plenty of videos already, but I don't share my emotions very well. I don't like to deal with that stuff. I kind of stuff them away into the dark corners and just try to ignore the things. And that's where I build the walls. I build the walls around those things, so I just kind of keep them hidden somewhere. And so when I heard about boundaries, I thought, well, I'm trying to break down these walls. I'm trying to get out of the habit of building walls and keeping things and people out and things in that need to be out. So one thing that really struck me in this book was what she said about fences. First off, let me share this quote. Fences are a way to take care of what we're growing on the farm. They are also a way to take care of what you're growing in your life. And here I wrote in, right here at the top, I wrote in protection. Because that's the first thing that came to mind. Hold on, I need to adjust my light. Oh, I've been dealing with some really bad pain over the last week again. And arthritis is not a friend of storms. It's just been pretty painful. Now, I wrote protection down because that's the first thing that came to my mind when she said fences are a way of taking care of what you're growing on the farm. Because when I think of my garden that I have, hopefully I'll share a short video of a little walk that I took today. You can see it's all overgrown and everything, but there is a part where I showed kind of where you'll see a bunch of branches kind of covering little areas, because every time that we did our garden, mostly it was the boys, our boy cats, one that we no longer have, Neville, as soon as we went and we planted the seeds, it's all nice, and we had added soil in some, he thought that we built him an outdoor litter box. So he would mess with it and ruin most of the garden that we had out there. So after that happened the first time, my husband decided to try to put some branches over it and kind of build like a little dome over it, which helped. He did get into the little corners, but at least, we had what was in the middle. And usually with the garden, depending on how big you have it and what you're doing, we do put fences around them so that animals don't get in and ruin the garden. And so I thought of when she said they are also a way to take care of what you're growing in your life. So it's protection, right? So I'm trying to grow my relationship with the Lord more. I'm trying to grow in healthy habits, how I'm eating and exercising, but also how I'm treating myself. So I tend to overextend myself. I tend to give and give and give of my time or whatever to the point where I'm overwhelmed. And a lot of it is due because of medical issues and mental health issues. Not just the physical, but I guess I want to just do all the things and deal with the consequences for like days later, for a few days after that. But then there's those days where I'm just down and out because of that. I enjoy helping people. So I enjoy giving them my time, doing things for people. Like in my heart, that's what I enjoy and what I find fulfillment in. And it's a way for me to walk out my faith as well. But due to medical issues, physical, mental health issues, I have to be more careful about what I do and how far I extend myself and all these things, right? But I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to put a boundary up and keep it up. I have the tendency to be a people pleaser, to want to fix things. I've talked about this before. And the people pleasing has a lot more, I think, to do with this overextension and just giving until you're empty and then you have no more and you're still trying to give. So then it becomes harder. It makes you more, I guess for me, it causes bitterness and irritation, even though the situation may not warrant for that. When I read this, I kept thinking, okay, well, what does she mean by what I'm growing in my life? And later on, just a little bit down on that same page on 105, she says this: don't mistake fences for walls. That hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, all this time, every time I read a book or heard somebody talk about boundaries, I thought, I gotta put up a wall. And walls are good. I'm not saying they're not. Walls are good. I live in a cabin. The walls are up there for protection. But when it comes to keeping, I guess when it comes to dealing with the issues of life, helping other people, allowing people into my life, and giving, I need to know where those boundaries need to be and how to build them so that I'm not isolating myself from everything. And that's one thing that, like, in the next sentence, she says, walls can feel closed in and tight. And that's exactly how I've lived my life. Isolated, closed in, these tight spaces, everything crammed with all this clutter. It's not just outside. I'm like looking around the cabin. It's a small space. It's a one room, so it's a small space. But I still have too much stuff. Too much clutter. Things that, yes, I like, but do I use them? Maybe. Probably not. A lot of it I don't. But it's an extension of what I'm feeling inside and how I've for so long use things to cover up whatever kind of things I'm dealing with. The unknowns, the uncomfortable things, the past hurts, all of that. So because I tend to stuff all the emotions in there and all the hurt and all the things that I don't want to deal with, I clutter my space around me as well. Later on on that same page, she says, fences aren't intended to divide. Good fences protect and preserve the beautiful things you're growing. Fences communicate your belief that your land holds life worthy of safeguarding. And I think that is something I don't put a lot of stock in, I guess, is seeing my life worthy of safeguarding. And I'm not saying that I think I'm unworthy of everything or whatever, but I tend to think that what other people need is more important than what I need. And yes, when we talk about how we are to live as Christians, we are to give, we are to sacrifice, we are to, sometimes we live without to give someone something because they truly need it, and maybe we didn't really need it, or maybe it was just a way for someone to see God through us and to come to the salvation through Yeshua, Jesus. Because I tend to think that everything else outside of myself is more important, I don't take time to sit with myself, which I struggle with. It makes me very anxious to sit in the quiet. I don't take time to really get to know me. So part of my healing journey is to learn how to deal with the medical issues that I have, especially because I think that is extremely connected to mental health. And so that means that I need to be very aware of how things affect me. So for instance, one of my number one goals is to eventually get off some of this medication that I'm on for health issues. So one of my primary goals then is to lose weight, because that may not fix everything, but it will make everything easier, and it may result in being able to get rid of a lot of the medication I'm on, and give me more energy, all the things that I need, plus it'll lessen pain, which is a really big issue. So in order for me to do that, I need to put up fences sometimes. I need to make a space where I can rest, be restored, be filled, even if that at the beginning comes from just sitting in God's presence alone. Because I know that one of our jobs as a believer, at least I think this way, I may be wrong, but one of our jobs is to encourage and to fill other people. So when someone's down, we're to be there for them, pray for them, and also do things for them. So like, if someone is going through a hard time in any way, so if they're going through a hard time because they're sick, and you can go and make them soup, make them some tea, go clean their house for them, whatever it is that you could do. If they're having financial issues and you have the means to help them, and it's something that God put on your heart, you can do that as well. Sometimes just being there and sitting with them is all they need. And so I think those are things that are important, and those are how we get filled. And I have people that do that for me to a point, but part of the reason why it's just to a point is because I tend to disconnect. Um, I tend to not necessarily quit communication, but I keep a lot of stuff to myself because I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know how to allow other people to help me. Big issue there. One thing I'm working on, and that's part of the reason why it's taken me so long to deal with health issues. It took a time in my life, I think I was about 36, 37, where I couldn't even leave the house because the anxiety was so bad that I was having panic attacks. I couldn't get out of the house. There was times that I would drive and had to turn back around and go home. There was times that I would just have the worst feeling something bad's gonna happen if I go to work today or go here today or do whatever. So sometimes I would get there, but it would take me, and I have to go in a couple hours late. And that it just came out of nowhere. And I think a lot of it had to do with worsening health issues that I didn't know I had. Because I wasn't taking care of myself. And part of the problem at that time, a lot of the changes that were going on in work and all that stuff, my hours were really out of control. So I wasn't getting enough sleep, enough rest. And I'm the type that'll just go until I'm like pretty much just knocked out. And I'm learning how to stop that. But it took that and hearing, my blood pressure was so high. Everything was just out of control that I just had to give up. I had to let go of that. And I loved the job that I had. I loved working there. It was hard, some of the stuff that I had to do because of issues I was having. I was having issues at work with the work that I was doing. When I quit, those first few months were horrible. I was still having the same issues where I couldn't leave the house. There was times that I would sit on the couch and I'd have all my books with me, everything that I was reading or whatever, and sometimes I could read, sometimes I couldn't, but I had to have them there. But it was like I couldn't even get up off the couch, and if I did, I would get dizzy. I would just be sick to my stomach, and it was horrible because I didn't understand what was happening. But it resulted from all this time of neglecting myself. And I guess it's hard for people to understand that who don't deal with health issues, because you can, of any kind that really affect you, you'll understand that type of, you're so tired, but you're going anyway. Your body doesn't want to work, but your mind's telling you can do this, and so you try, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I quit the job, but I still didn't quit doing. It was like, even when I was sick like that, as soon as I started feeling like, okay, I can get up, and I was out again. Granted, I was with my mom most of the time, which was really nice because we got to spend a lot of time together. But I think I just wasn't taking time to do the good things for myself. Being with her was great. Going for walks was great. We'd have coffee, do the things. But what was happening was I wasn't taking care of my body either. I wasn't dealing with what was going on. I was ignoring everything. So it was getting harder and harder to work through it, or I guess be there with other people through it, just kind of doing the daily things. So then I got to the point where we had to leave that place that we were living in. There's a lot of things that happened from the time I quit through the time that we moved that just made it to where this is where we're at now. There was some interesting things that happened, some things that one day I hope to share, dreams that I had that were just too real not to be of significance. So because of some of that, and because I actually finally shared the things, and we saw things happening that were just, there's just no way that I would have dreamt it, and then it happened 6 months later. It's those types of things. So that's what kind of led us to where we are now. When I came here, I was still dealing with a lot of the same issues with anxiety, panic attacks, and all the things, and I still deal with that now. It's gone a little bit better, which it's kind of had its ups and downs, I guess. And part of the time that was really good was the time that I took the time to change my diet. And I think the reason for that wasn't just the diet change, because not every type of diet works for everyone. So I can't tell you that doing what I did would make you feel better. I don't even know if that would be the thing for me long term either. But it helped me then. And I think the reason was because I was paying attention to myself. I was doing something for me. I was putting myself finally as a priority in the health department. But at the same time, I was able to do more for other people because I was feeling better. You know, I was doing a lot of meal prep, and I was even cooking for others. I would make some meal preps for my sister, my parents, for us here. And then one day, I don't know what happened. Something switched, and I just fell right back into not really caring anymore. It didn't necessarily start eating bad or anything. I just stopped caring about taking care of myself. I was still eating healthy. I did add a few things in that I wasn't eating before, and it did affect me just a little, but you know, it wasn't real bad. But then it just shifted. Something happened, and this was even prior to my mom passing, because I know that has a lot to do with some of the issues that I struggle with now. You know, the stress of all of that can trigger some of the health issues that I have to be a little worse. But prior to that, it was a shift in something. Now there is some mental health issues that after that were, I guess, made more clear or diagnosed, that makes sense. You know, makes sense for what was going on at the time. And eventually I will share some of that. The only reason I'm not sharing more of that now is because a lot of this is new to me. So I'm not really sure how to share that and what I would share, because I'm still trying to learn what it means and what I can do. Okay, now back to the book and for the fences. One thing that she said here was, let's see, I guess this part is pretty, kind of makes sense with what I'm talking about when we overdo things. Fences help me see that this is my property, and that is not. This is my responsibility, and that is not. Fences mean that we don't give to every charity, but we do give generously to the ones God has purposely placed in our field. So he places people in our lives that need us. He places us in people's lives when we need them. So there are certain things that we're going to have to do, and he'll show us what those are if we're open to that. This was another thing that hit me like a ton of bricks. For somebody who wants to run a million miles an hour, fences are a form of self-control. Furthermore, boundaries are biblical. And she shared Proverbs 25:28. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Well, I never thought of self-control as having boundaries. And I think I needed to learn that. It's something I needed to hear, and I need to learn that I can do so much, but when I start feeling overwhelmed, I need to step back, and I need to have that self-control. Like, no, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to try to manage everything or fix everything. You know, there's others that you can ask for help. And one thing that, it's funny that she says this in this book, because she's showing me this. Sometimes we need others to show us where our fences need mending, or to reveal places where we have no fences at all. For me, it's a no fences at all. And so through this, I'm learning what that means. And I think my first fence in a way, it's probably just going to be something to do with my health journey. It really just means that I need a sanctuary, you know, a place, and it could be anything. Like, it could be right here where I'm sitting. It could be somewhere outside, just some place to just be and be filled with that presence of the Lord, and just, you know, get into praise and worship, read the word, and just soak it all in, and get to the point where I'm filled and I can give again without becoming overwhelmed, without becoming bitter. Because I know for me in the past, when I get really overwhelmed and I just can't do it anymore, I don't want to say I can't do it anymore. I don't want to say I can't help, I need help this time, or whatever it is. Instead, I continue doing it, but then my heart gets hard, because I have to harden myself in order to deal with the things that are coming my way, because I don't want to deal with the emotion of I can't do this and I'm feeling bad or whatever. And so that's one thing I need to, which I think comes along with self-control. Learn what I can do and let go of what I can't. And there's so much in this chapter. I wish I could just read the whole thing to you, but page 107. This is my page here. That light's kind of bright. It's just completely, you know, highlighted, written on. I mean, this whole chapter, this whole, almost this entire book has been like that, but this page got me thinking about how we ended up here, living here. What she says on this page, it got me thinking about where we are right now, how we got to where we are living here in our lives, just in general. And I prayed a lot, like for years, for just a place of peace, a place of calm, a place of rest, because I couldn't deal with it anymore. I couldn't do it. I was having, I don't know what it was exactly, and I don't think it came from a place of fear necessarily. Maybe partially, but you know when you push yourself so hard, and you know when you're sick and you're dealing with illness, and these illnesses, if pushed too far and let go for too long, can result in death, you know, premature death, or, you know, just this thing is getting stuck again. Okay, let me go back. Okay, I prayed for a place of sanctuary, a place of rest, a place for calm, a place where I could get out of that same mindset of I gotta go, 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 go. Okay, so I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. 2019 came early that year. Prior to that, like I said earlier, a lot of things happened from the time that I think I left my job in 2014, 15, 14, I think, something like that. So this was a few years later, and it was, the things that were happening were maybe just for God trying to get my attention. You prayed for this. I'm showing you what you need to do. So fast forward to the end of September of 2018, and in the dream I had, it was very specific. September 29th, half day. You need to be out of here. Well, by September 29th, that afternoon, I was here with part of our cats. One of our cats was pregnant, and she was not letting my husband bring her. So he stayed one more night at our old place, and then the next day, they came. Well, because of this move, I've had a lot to think about. It is a beautiful place. You know, all the evergreens. I've shown some stuff in the videos of some of the area around here. There's just some beautiful country here, and I love just being out in nature. So that was an answered prayer. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I was dealing with, still am, but you know, just over time, I'm seeing how being in this area has taught me a lot of lessons. And I was over the last over the last year, maybe, and probably over the whole entire time I've been here, but for sure since probably, I'd say about a year, almost. It's been almost 2 years. It'll be in 2 years since my mom passed away in July. And when things like this happen, and I don't know how to deal with the emotion behind it, I don't know how to deal with it, I get extremely antsy, I get extremely anxious, and I just want to go. I just want to be busy. I just want to run away, basically. And I was just anxious to get out of here. I wanted to leave. I didn't want to be here anymore. I didn't understand why God put me here. I was just, nothing made sense. I was like, why am I not somewhere else? I could be, I don't know, living my dream of living in, in an RV van life for a while and I'm traveling, or being back in Vegas with my dad in that area, or I don't know. And I just struggled so much with why am I here? And I think it's just because I felt bad because I wasn't there as much as I think I should have been for my parents when my mom was sick. Now, granted, I was there a lot while she was sick, and I still went and visited a lot when the years that we've been out here. And I was there the entire time before we moved out here. But it's that regret of, I should have been there more. I should have just not moved over here. I should have stayed over there. I should have made a way and stayed there so I could have been there for her. So I went through all the emotions of why am I here? Plus, then now my dad's alone in Vegas. And I thought, well, we should be moving over there. Why are we here? But see, the beginning, before we moved here, my husband prayed about this. And if you ever get a chance, I'll link his testimony. Granted, it's not his full testimony. It's just one that he was doing, during a challenge that he gave himself during December last year. And it was a big thing for him to pray about this. And he started, just certain things that were going on, he felt like he needed to be here to help his parents in some way or another. And there was conversations that were had right prior to us moving here and stuff like that kind of resulted in that. So here we are. And I guess because of all the things that have happened in my family, I feel like I shouldn't have been here, I should have been over there. But God put me here for a reason. And I think part of that reason is for this, for it's forcing me to grow. It's forcing me to look at myself. It's forcing me to do the things that I probably wouldn't do otherwise. I really don't think I'd be sitting here today in front of this camera if I'd still be living in Vegas. I mean, maybe, but that wasn't a thought back then. Not really. So why this page got me thinking about that is because I kept thinking of other things that I could do. What ways I could expand, go, do all these things. Even with this channel, I want to do all sorts of stuff. I was like, I could do this and I could do this and I could do that, and it's been really hard to do any of those things. This is it. This is more like a podcast like type thing that I'm doing at the bottom of this page. And I'll read some of the highlights after I read this to you. I wrote down, I feel unsettled and anxious where I am, but God. And I have that right here at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that or if it'll come out backwards, but I have it an arrow pointing back to, make no mistake, it's your God-given right to simply abide in the place where He has placed you for this moment in history. Rest, sit still, tend to the matters at hand. Marvel at the slow growth beneath your feet, just as the Lord surely marvels at the way he is growing you, as a flower gently unfolds on summer morning after a long night of rain. Now, further up on the page, when I talked about expanding and doing all the things, she says the temptation will be to widen fences, to move the post out a little further so you can plant more seeds and perhaps produce a bigger harvest. There may well come a time to widen your reach, your scope, your influence. But friend, may I encourage you to let the Lord move the fences and not the people who are telling you that you need to take it to the next level. Now, that is interesting to me because there's always somebody, and whether it's somebody directly telling you you need to do more, move, get to the next level of whatever. A lot of times it's just social media, it's just things that we're watching, whatever we're, looking at, whatever we're reading, those types of things. Sometimes it's just us, and we need to let the Lord move. And I'm trying to sit still. And last year, part of my word of the year was be still, and that's in Psalms, right? But it was be still, be still, be still. I saw it everywhere. It was in everything. It was a journal that my mom had bought me back in 2018, I believe, or something. And I pulled it out last year, and on the front it says be still. And it was like little things that I found that had been given to me. Be still, be still. And I'm like, I don't know how. And here I am still trying to learn that. Now, she ends this chapter with talking about how God stewards us. So, as you think about the fences in your life, remember that some are there to keep toxic things out. They are also a way to hem you in. This is God's way of stewarding us. He could obliterate all the fences and let your growth run like wild vines across the hillsides, but he has you right where you are for a reason. What is the reason? I don't know yet. Maybe I have inklings, I guess, and there is some reasons I do know for sure that he has me here, but you just feel like there's something more that you're not getting because you're not allowing his voice to penetrate. And so I made a note at the end of that I wrote down in chapter 15. So that was chapter 10. And in chapter 15, that's a chapter I do want to share about. It's a very good chapter. It's called Bleacher People. So I referenced here to look at the prayer that I wrote in chapter 15. And something that she said in that chapter about bleacher people. These are the people who criticize and all the things. Okay, this is a prayer, and I'll just read the whole thing to you. Abba, there are voices in the bleachers that make me anxious and tell me I am not enough. If I am not doing more, doing it faster, doing things their way, or pretending as if they appreciate the help I give, but share a different story with others. Abba, drown them out. Change their hearts if possible. Let my ears be focused on your voice alone. Remind me these bleacher people only see a part of my story, and you see it all. Fill me with shalom even when their voices get loud. In Yeshua's name, amen. Now, I will share more of the bleacher people, and I'll probably share that prayer again, but it's something that I need to work on, that idea of where it says, where she shares about fences keeping toxic things out. Well, some of those toxic things are bleacher people. People who just are there to criticize no matter what, and nothing you do is ever going to be enough for them. And that's only because they have their own issues and that they have to work on. So it has nothing to do with us necessarily. It's more about them. But that's hard to differentiate. It's hard. So one of, the prayers that I had for a while now, but this year is something I'm really focusing on with the praise, is also to have wisdom and discernment, to really just be discerning when it is his voice and what is the enemy's voice, and when the enemy is using somebody, because Satan uses people. He can use people to discourage us and to bring us down, and we need to be very aware of that. Go to God in prayer. And the reason that I don't know, totally lost that thought. But I hope that what I shared today blessed you, encouraged you, and I hope that you've enjoyed this book as much as I do. So what I've shared, and if you want to get this book, I believe it's on Amazon. I'm not sure. This was sent to me by one of the sisters in the Lord that I do the study with. I will try to find this, and I'll link it below. I'll also link the At the Well Ministries, if I can get their link from which we're doing that study with them now. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. God bless you, and bye.